wears her hair like that, who has hair about this long, but she sticks it under it.
The problem
Anyway,
I
we're
have.
live.
Hi, everybody.
Woohoo! All right. Let's see what, and now is the awkward time when we find out what number iMore show this is, because I didn't check that in advance. I'm a
582.
terrible human being. All right. Well, it is Wednesday, November 22nd, 2017. I'm podcasting from my kitchen. It is almost Thanksgiving, and this is the iMore Show. Hi, I'm Serenity Caldwell, managing editor of iMore, doing the introduction today because why the heck not? It's almost Thanksgiving. We're going to have a fun show intermingled with talking about things like net neutrality, which maybe not be quite so fun, but we'll make it entertaining. And joining me today is fellow editor Lory Gil. How are you doing, Lory?
That's me. I'm doing very good. I'm feeling the pressures of Thanksgiving since in the US, Thanksgiving is tomorrow, but I think I'm prepared. So I'm trying to keep calm, carry on.
Always a good thing. Keep calm, carry on. I need that poster in my kitchen right now.
I need it burned in my brain.
Like an inside tattoo on the inside of your eyelids.
Yep.
Joining us is, of course, iMore editor at large, Rene Ritchie. Hi, Rene.
I have Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Not in my kitchen, but I have Cinnamon Toast Crunch. What? And I have a Google Pixel phone. And I want to know if both you and Lory Gil have your Thanksgivings planned on Trello.
Funny you should say that. I don't, but I have it planned in notes. I have 5 different notes that I've listed so far that I use to remind me of things to do. Grocery shop. I do 2 different grocery shopping trips, and then I plan
left side of the table and right side of the table.
Well, then I plan my schedule for the week because I prepare a bunch of stuff ahead of time. So I plan out each night what I'm going to prepare. And then I have another list that's for the day of schedule, what time I'm going to take the turkey out to prep it, what time I put it in the oven, what time I put the side dishes in. So yeah, I do plan it out.
You guys deep fry your turkeys, right? That's the myth. All Canadians believe Americans deep fry their turkeys.
God, no.
I've always wanted to try it.
It's a little bit too cold outside to deep fry. I mean, maybe that's the point in deep frying. I don't know. Anyway, no, I'm not deep frying a turkey, but we will be making, this is the first time that Rick and I are spending a Thanksgiving together. So we're going to attempt to make Thanksgiving by ourselves.
Oh, adulting. You're adulting.
Yeah.
I envy you so much. I would love to have just me and Craig Thanksgiving. It would be so nice to do that. It just sounds so calm and relaxing.
I think the trick is get an Airbnb and go far away from.
Or you tell your family you're going to his family. You tell his family you're going to your family. Then you stay home.
Oh, that sounds good idea.
Imagine that.
I like your plan.
Well, aside from talking about our relative Thanksgiving plan related thing, this is really Black Friday anymore. It's Black Thanksgiving. I don't know what to call this insane deals fueled inferno that we've kind of found ourselves in. I mean, we talked last week with the head of Thrifter, Daniel De Silva, about all the cool stuff that they're doing. But I don't really want to go too far into deals rabbit hole because I feel like everybody's going to be hearing all about the deals in about a couple days, including now. I mean, my inbox is full of them. So let's just keep it nice and simple. Let's go around and choose one deal / product that we're really excited about. And I will go first. But this is tech adjacent, I should say. Tech and Star Wars adjacent, so I'm gonna love it. Last year on a whim, actually around this time, there was a deal on a footwear company called Pozu, which made the shoes for Rey in The Force Awakens. The costume designer picked out these shoes, and they were selling off their inventory and giving an ultra low deal. And I'm like, these are really cool shoes, and they're relatively cheap now, so I'm gonna buy them. I'm actually wearing them right now. This is an awkward shot. But they are awesome. They are legitimately the best shoes I have ever owned, like no hyperbole, full stop. I've done like jogging and hiking and regular walking and running, warming up for roller derby championships in these shoes, and they are fantastic. And then this year, Pozu launched a Star Wars adjacent line where they're doing all of this footwear in conjunction with The Last Jedi. So they have like these high top sneakers with Rebel Alliance logos on them. They're all really cool. And I've been kind of coveting them from afar for the last 6 months. But as I mentioned, the shoes are really well made, and most of them are vegan. So they cost a little bit more than your average like $20 sneaker. And then today in my inbox, I found out that Pozu is doing 25% off for the next, I think, 2 days off of all of its sneakers and boots and everything. So I'm just encouraging people to check them out, because seriously, these shoes are amazing and nobody knows about them. So they're tech adjacent because their soles are made with bamboo, which is kind of crazy.
Future-ish. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love
also
those.
Star Wars.
I love those Ray high boots. They are really cute. That's what I would buy if I had an extra $200, $250. I'm not exactly sure what it's a British website. So for me, I don't know yet what the transfer rate is, but I mean, all of their shoes are really cute. So
getting the R2 boots.
So
I don't even know if there are R2 boots, but I'm getting the R2 boots.
They're actually, there is a silver pair of, they kind of look like high top Converse. They're actually called the Resistance Silver, but you can kind of picture them as being sort of a R2 style shoe. So,
or you're like putting your feet in Amidala's ships.
They're super cute. So that's my pick. Lory, what's your pick for the
thing that I'm interested in? This is not for my own personal purchasing, because I just don't need it. But Amazon is coming out with a new little connected gadget called the Echo Connect that I will almost definitely, I hope family isn't listening to this to know that I will almost definitely be buying at least one of these, probably more than one, for family members that are that still have a landline in their home, because it connects to your landline phone so that you can use it the same way you would with your Echo device to call people, and it works the same way as an Echo speaker, but you don't have to connect it to your cell phone. So, like my mother, who still has a landline, my mother-in-law, who still has a landline, these are all people that would probably love to have something. These are all people that also already have an Amazon Echo, so they can now connect their home landline to it and make phone calls. So I think it's a pretty neat little device. I don't actually have a landline, so I don't need something like that, but I'm sure that there's lots of family members out there that would make a good gift, and it's only $35. So it's one of their lower priced connected Echo devices, and it's coming out on December 13th. So I think you can pre-order it now, and hopefully it'll get to your house before the holidays hit. So that's my big holiday shopping item. It's not on sale or anything like that, but it's coming soon. So
still pretty cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to look into that for my parents. Renee, what about you?
So I already took advantage of the thrifter deal for the Lego advent calendars for my godkids, because I get those every year. But the one I'm looking for is, I haven't settled on a brand yet. I'm thinking Eero, but I'm going to be moving soon, and Apple still has not revved its Wi-Fi routers. I mean, they're fine. They're 802.11 AC. It's current technology, but mesh routing is just such an interesting technology, because you don't have to do bridging. You don't have to do all this complicated geek network administrator stuff. You can just put these little mother boxes in different parts of the house, and they form together like a Sonos network, but they just carry your data, and they do all these fancy things for you. And I like the idea of having one maybe in the living room, one maybe in the bedroom, and then one in the podcasting room or whatever, and they just handle it. I don't have to even think about it. And some friends of mine are moving too, so if I can get a really good deal on it, maybe I'll get a bigger set, because as far as I know, they're they're not like formed into families. You can move them about into different arrangements. So I'll buy like 4 of them and share, or 6 of them and share.
So this doesn't necessarily need a router. Like, how does it connect?
I think
to
one plugs in, and then the other ones just join into whatever. It's like, whoa, party!
So it's like an Airport Express kind of, like a very advanced version of an Airport Express.
Yeah, if it just handled making the mesh, it's like Sonos, but with like an airport connection to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I've been really curious about mesh networking because it's been like, I keep on seeing advertisements for it. I see people talking about it. And mostly up until this year, I've seen people say, it's okay, but it's not the best, right? Yeah. It's not top tier. And now I'm a little bit like,
Well, now it's Gen 2. And I think like Eros for their Gen 2, they have 3 separate networks that it'll do, a little tri-band. And John Gruber he talks about it in this sultry networking voice. It makes it very compelling.
Sultry network. I don't even know.
He slow reads the ad. It's like slow jam. He slow jams the ad.
he has, what is it, a vocal fry to his voice.
Echo beam, router.
Oh my God.
Mesh.
Synergy.
Best Sean Connery. That's a good pick. Yeah, these are all cool things, and I fear for my wallet at the end of this Christmas season, especially after planning a wedding. So we'll move right along. Lory Gil, what are we talking about next?
I think we're going to jump right into the deep end. Do you like my segue, Rene?
Aces.
You're
in full effect.
Heading into the depth effect. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to do a little comparison chatting on the differences between Pixel 2 XL and iPhone 10. Is that right?
Yeah.
Let's start with
one of our numbers.
Let's start with Serenity about this.
Oh God, I was gonna say Rene, because he has a Pixel 2 XL.
Okay, let's start with Rene.
Yeah. Ooh, look at that.
Tri-band selfies.
So Rene, you shared a video with us. I'm not sure if you plan on making it live. You did a quick comparison.
I put it up on Twitter already.
You did? Okay. Yeah. The comparison between portrait mode in the Pixel 2 XL and portrait mode in the iPhone 10. Or actually, I'm not even sure if it was an iPhone 10. I wasn't paying close attention.
I mean, like, it could be a 7 or an 8 or I'm not using portrait lighting. I'm only using portrait mode. So it could be a 7 plus, 8 plus, or 10. They're all broadly similar.
But the one thing that I wanted to question and or comment on, was that a plushie of Steve Jobs?
That was the IC. I don't think they're legally allowed to say that, but that is a short-lived iCEO plushie.
It's pretty cute. I'm glad you got one. I kind of have a vague memory of when those first were trying to come out, and I know that there's not a lot of, nobody's allowing this to happen. So the fact that you've got this adorable little
ordered it immediately. I knew that was not going to live long.
Yeah, it's pretty cute.
So I was reading Serenity Caldwell. Serenity Caldwell did this amazing breakdown on depth effect over the last week. Just different looks at the front, the rear camera, how it works. Pulled out the depth maps because that's how she rolls. And then I got the Pixel 2 XL, and it made it the first thing that I wanted to try. And we can get into technologies in a minute, but like I picked up the Pixel 2 XL, I got it set up, and I immediately went to portrait mode, and I didn't see it. And then I started tapping buttons. Like, is it me? Am I wrong here? Am I portraiting it wrong? And then I went to the menu button, because I remember everything in Android is a menu button. And then halfway down, there's portrait mode. So I tapped it and I held it up, and it looked like a normal photo. So I'm like, I'm still doing this wrong. Did my Pixel not ship with portrait mode? I don't understand. And I went back and forth. I redid it. I rebooted. I did all these things. I held it up. And then finally I thought, okay, I'm just gonna take some photos. Maybe it's taking a while to kick in. I don't know. So I took the photo, I opened the photo was in portrait mode. And then I'm staring at it going, you gotta be, and then like 1, 2, 3, suddenly it went into portrait mode. And I was like, I don't understand what just happened. So I went back, it still wasn't in portrait mode, took another photo, went to the camera roll, 1, 2, 3, suddenly it was in portrait mode. I'm like, maybe this is how it works. So I checked like all the big reviews, and nobody mentioned it. Like, nobody mentioned that it was a fundamentally different experience. And then I finally saw in like the TechCrunch and Android Central review, it made like passing reference to it does it in post-process or after the fact. And I'm like, but that's not an aside. Like, that's not a gloss over. I was really lost, and people are making fun of me on Twitter for this, but I was really lost because on iPhone, I'm just used to putting it in portrait mode, and it looks to me like I'm shooting with the DSLR and a fast prime lens, because I see the depth effect. It's like part of the photographic experience for me. And I know some people don't care, but I frame the shot, I move, I change lighting, I go forward, I go backward to sort of make it look the way I want it to look before I hit that button. And I feel like I'm shooting naked with the Pixel 2. It's just, there's no like, it does a fantastic job. Google deserves all the credit in the world. Magnificent machine learned segmentation, masking, and algorithms, but you only get to see them later. And it's just, it's not a photographic experience to me.
Why do you think that is, Rene? Like, why?
I lost Serenity, I apologize.
Can you repeat that, Serenity?
Yeah. I said, why do you think that is, Rene? Like, why did Google make this choice to do it in post-process instead of trying to render it live?
I think there's two reasons. So the iPhone uses, on the back at least, it uses two cameras. It uses a dual lens system to create the depth map for portrait mode. Google doesn't have that. They made this big deal about having, we can do portrait mode with one camera. So what they're doing is they're sort of hijacking the phase detect autofocus system, because you have dual pixels. You've had that on the iPhone for a long time too. You have basically two pixels, and it uses that data to focus, but you can also use that data to make a sort of depth map, and Google really enhances it at that point. But apparently, like, you can't do that live. That is data that you have to crunch afterwards. And also, I've heard that, like, it took Apple a lot of work, a lot of silicon and a lot of engineering to get it to be good on the iPhone, and that's just not easy for other companies to implement. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's, what I've heard.
So just to kind of speak to the comments that you were just making, that you felt completely lost when you were trying to use the Pixel 2 XL to take portrait mode. I think there's something to remember, is that there are people who have never used iPhone to take portrait mode pictures,
yes.
And it might be much easier for them to understand that process. So for you and for all of us who use an iPhone, we would immediately think it's broken, there's something wrong, it's not working. But I also, in my experience with portrait mode, live portrait mode, I see mistakes a lot in that process. Like things blur that aren't supposed to blur or something like that. It's not a big deal, but maybe Pixel has it right because it's doing it after the fact. So it's not kind of overworking its own system to try to get it to work. Like I love live portrait mode, and I'm the same way, Rene. I'd be lost without it, because what's the point? You might as well just use any old app that does something similar.
Yeah, like I can tell if my glasses are blurring, I don't want them to blur, so I move a little bit, and then I know I'm not going to catch that blur, for example.
I would guess, though, I don't know because I haven't used it, but I would guess that the post-processing of portrait mode in Pixel 2 XL doesn't give you a blur. You don't even have it at all.
No, it does, and then I have to reshoot the photo.
Okay, so then in that case, I was wrong.
No, and so it is better. Like, it is objectively better. What they're doing algorithmically is better than what Apple is doing currently, especially their edge detection. But it misses like anything else, and then you have to. And friend of the show, Martin, it was Safe Solvent. Sorry, was saying that you have to take a picture, stop, go look at it, take a picture, stop. It's almost like take the Polaroid. Let's adjust our lighting. Go take the Polaroid. Like, it takes you back to an archaic photographic experience.
One of the other things I'm kind of curious about is with iOS 11, the iPhone, I think it's 7 Plus and up, but it might just be 8 Plus and 10. You have both foreground and background blur, or at least it attempts to do foreground and background blur. And one of the things I've noticed when focusing portrait mode photos is I can actually tap various points, like tap to focus in various points, and actually get to say, focus on the background and have more of the foreground and blur. Have you tried that on the Pixel 2 XL? Like, is that possible without having the live preview? Does it not understand what you're trying to do at all?
So it's a very different pipeline. So what they do is they merge two things. They do get depth data only on the back camera. The front camera has no phase detection autofocus, so it cannot get any depth data. On the back, it does have that, so it has depth data, but then it also has what they call segmentation mapping, which is Google applying a face recognition algorithm to sort of cut you out, which is why some people say it looks like a cutout effect. It literally cuts you out from the background, and it works really well on complicated backgrounds, but it does look cut out. and then they sort of merge those using what they call secret sauce to get the final image. And it does work. Like when Apple launched portrait mode, they told both Serenity and I, we were sitting there like, it's really optimized for faces, and we're like, forget that, we're shooting everything, and it mostly worked. And Google's the same. It's like it's optimized for machine learning faces, but most things work. But again, I can't do what Serenity just mentioned because I have no idea what it's focusing on until I go and see the picture afterwards.
But can you tap to focus? So if you have, say, you're in the foreground and your cat's in the background, and you actually would rather have the cat in focus, can you just tap the cat in the screen, and then in post, will it know that you wanted the cat to be in focus, and then make that the clear one, and then blur you?
So I definitely tap to focus, but I don't. I mean, I'll do some experimenting. Well,
follow up. For those listening, not watching, we're doing an experiment right now where Rene is
doing it live.
He's taking a picture using Pixel 2 XL, and he's tapping to focus.
I wasn't in portrait mode because this is the other thing, is like on the iPhone, and this took me a while. Like you can just it just says portrait mode right up front. You swipe to it, you're in portrait mode. This I didn't see it, so I started taking photos without portrait mode, and I had to go to the menu and like an animal.
So the one thing that's worth noting while Rene is doing this test, friend of iMore and VRhead's editor, Russell Hawley, did a really great comparison for us on the front-facing camera of the iPhone versus the front-facing camera for the Pixel 2 XL. And one of the things that he noted as a longtime Android and iPhone user that he really liked was the fact that Android saved 2 copies of the photo, the portrait version and the original version. And I'm kind of half and half on that, because
did we lose her?
Our portrait
Serenity
HDR effect.
Can you repeat from you said I'm half and half on that?
Yeah. So where I'm feeling with the dual photos thing is it kind of feels like a step back. You know, it feels like we're going back into the HDR era, the early HDR era, where it's like, oh, we'll do the photo without HDR and the photo with HDR. Whereas with Apple, everything is non-destructive. So if you edit the photo, you can just tap portrait to disable or tap it to re-enable. And fun fact, you can do portrait lighting without
Didn't it used to? I feel like the original iPhone 7 Plus stored the 2 images.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
The original iPhone had the option of storing 2 images. You may still be able to store 2 images in settings. I'd have to look.
It might be something you can turn on.
You don't, because again, it's a metadata now.
Yeah, so you can duplicate it and then turn it off in one of them if you want to.
Yeah, that you could make 2, have a copy of the photos. Yeah, but like Serenity is saying, I mean, just tap the portrait mode, and then you're not in portrait mode anymore.
That worked, by the way, Lory. So I took one and focused on one thing, and then I took the other and focused on the other.
All right.
Okay,
so
at least
if you
it
tap
does
to
that.
focus.
Yeah. That's helpful. I would be really worried if it didn't do that. But the issue with the 2 photos thing, which Russell brought up, which I found really interesting, is he was like, oh, originally I thought the iPhone just didn't store the non-portrait version. And then when I explained to him how to do it, he still was like, oh, well, then once you disable portrait, it's gone. I'm like, no, you go back into the edit mode and you re-enable portrait. So I'm looking at this and now hearing Rene complain about like, oh, I don't know where the settings are. Yep. Maybe, again, this might be an iPhone Android thing where, because Android users are used to a certain, order of operations when taking their photos, the fact that Apple has it all buried in the same photo is a little bit jarring to them. Whereas for us, we're like, no, let's make it simple, make it easy. Not that isn't simple, but it's a different.
And we had to transition. We had to go from that to this, so it was probably not clear to us when it changed that we had to do, unless we read Serenity's article.
Yeah, it's true.
So the one point they do bake it in, like Apple, if you share that photo, there are ways of getting the depth data out. But if you share it, like if you iMessage it or AirDrop it, Apple will bake in the depth data because it's for privacy reasons. Like if you crop out a photo, or you're shooting a photo where you're maybe not fully clothed, but you use like the stage lighting mono, so all people are seeing are your face. They don't want someone else to turn off that filter and go, oh no, oh my God.
Oh God.
So they make sure they bake in everything before you send it, so there's no way of taking photos.
You just started a new thing that someone on the internet is going to try to do now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't even know. I'm not naming this meme.
Image capture is the best way to get the full depth data, or syncing via iCloud Photo Library, just for people to be aware. So Rene, aside from the differences in the way that they do these, how do you like shooting with the Pixel 2 XL versus the iPhone 10? Like, what do you notice is better about it? What do you notice is different about it? What do you not like as much?
So I've just been shooting like all casual, like I haven't done any stuffy like side-by-side photos, but it's size-wise, it's the size of an iPhone Plus, which is actually weird to go back to after using the 10 for so long. Well, not so long, like only a few weeks. It's like, this now feels like a big phone.
It makes the 10 look so small.
I know. This is the size of an iPhone 8 Plus, which I was using perfectly happily, because of the dual camera system. And now I'm going back to shooting
side by side. Your iPhone 10 looks like an iPhone 3GS.
It's like just a little. It's like a
weird how small it looks.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
and this feels large to me. My iPhone 10 feels large, but not that large
compared to Lory's SE. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's exactly.
But no, it takes really good photos. The Pixel last year took really great photos. This year takes really great photos. And Google's just it machine learns the hell out of everything and then does everything. It has what it's called like auto HDR, which is like HDR magic. And it's sort of a misnomer, but what it does is take the photo, analyze the hell out of it, and then make every pixel as absolutely good as it can possibly be. And it's a really great effect. My beautiful dream is for Google to bury that or put that in Snapseed or Google Photos for iOS, because Apple has the better hardware. Like having the discrete cameras is just better hardware. And you can't retroactively go back and add atoms to phones the way you can bits. But if Google would put that in Snapseed, let's say I take like a portrait mode picture of Lory and Serenity, and Apple's like, it's not quite right. I could load it into Google Photos or Snapseed and say, okay, Google, you let your algorithm have a run at it. And it just takes the depth map and applies it. And I'm like, I like this better, or this is worse, whatever. Then I go to a third-party app and say, what can you do? Like try Focus or something. What can you do? And then, it's the best of all worlds.
Yeah. So this is something that I'm kind of interested in vis-a-vis all of these photo editing apps, because we have, as you mentioned, there are things like Focus that can post tweak and all of that. But the way that Google is doing this machine learning, it's not on device, right? They're sending all this stuff up to the cloud to do it.
I think it's both. I think Jerry Hildenbrand from Android Central ran Wireshark and showed that there's no actual transmission going on while it's doing it. And I know they're moving, like it's not enabled. They shipped this phone with a chip in it that's not enabled called the Pixel Image Core. I think that's the right name for it, where it's going to be doing hardware acceleration for a lot of this. So I think they're going on device because it's just the performance is better. And it's already on device. It's got a few seconds of delay, so I wouldn't want to shoot with it normally if it had to do like an Amazon style cloud check every time.
Oh my God. Well, that's good, at least from a privacy perspective. I know that was one of the things that made me kind of hesitant about the whole Google Photos ethos, right?
Well, I still won't use it. I still won't use Google Photos or Facebook or any company that has a social network attached to their storage.
Yeah. So that's it. So what about portrait? What have you found, or portrait, front-facing portrait, selfie portrait?
So selfie portrait on the iPhone, it uses a true depth camera. I think you pulled out the depth map to show the difference. On the Pixel, it doesn't have any depth data because, again, there's no phase detection autofocus. So all it does is that machine learned segmentation map, but it does a really good job. It does look a bit more cut out. Like Apple is over blurring the lines on portrait selfies right now, and I think Google is under blurring them a little bit. So if you look at them, like I look perfectly cut out on the Pixel one. It's actually amazing, but it's not what I think. Like if I took it with a Fast 50, I don't think I would look that way. And Apple is overly blurry. And again, if I took it with a Fast 50, I wouldn't look that way. So
maybe a 40.
No, but it's just like there's sort of like they're artificially smoothing the transition between the lines. And I think Google is not artificial. It's too tight. So I'd like them both just to like get their crap together in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, they need to tweak a little bit. Maybe that's the beauty of beta, right? Is hopefully we can figure out all of that.
But it's great. Like just taking a portrait selfie is so fun.
Yes. I've enjoyed it a lot on my iPhone 10, and I wrote an article this week on how to take portrait selfies with your iPhone 10.
So good, so helpful.
Between that and how to do stage light properly, which I thought was a really fun adventure to do.
So does Ricky actually like selfies, or is he just a really good at acting like he likes selfies?
Ricky?
Yeah, Rick. Sorry.
I feel like
I think we should call him Ricky.
Ricky, no, my incredulation wasn't at the Ricky part. It was at the how many selfies was he in those articles? Because I feel like he was only in one or two.
Well, I just want to say because
across all of your articles, though, he appears in quite a few of them.
And he always looks so happy and like that. Because I remember when Leanna would force her husband to do it, it would be like this I love you. I'm taking this photo for you face.
I'm gonna stab you if you make me pose like this. No, he's pretty chill about it.
Okay,
mostly because he is the only person that I have as my photo assistant. So he's had to do this for a while, and you know, he married me, so he knows.
Photo assistant for life.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, until I can teach my dogs how to hold a camera, I think he's kind of stuck with it. But no, I did try. I've been throwing in some pet selfies.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun. Comparing the true depth camera to the rear camera and actually shooting the same subject with the selfie lens, which was a little bit challenging when you stopped shooting faces, I will admit. I actually, to shoot the selfies, I should have written about this in the article, but I loaded up the camera app on my Apple Watch, and then I turned the phone into selfie mode and I framed it with the Apple Watch so that I could see what the framing was instead of just like arbitrarily being like, I hope this works. But it was definitely an interesting look at how the different technologies work, because true depth to me is the future of camera technology. Like without a doubt, this is infrared and the dot map and everything else. This, like, as soon as the costs go down, I see that going into the rear camera and making a huge difference in how well Apple can sense depth. But you're also right, Rene, in that I feel like Apple is a step behind when it comes to machine learning at this point. Obviously, Google's had a lot of practice, so I'm not surprised on that front. But I'm really excited to see what happens when you combine, you know, Apple's hardware and stuff like true depth with like detailed machine learning, because the portrait mode is pretty good. But I'm excited. Like, I know it seems silly to be like, I'm excited for 2 years down the line, but I am. I like, as a mobile camera enthusiast, like, these cameras get better and better every year. And the idea that in 2 years we could have a camera that not only is like on par or pretty good at simulating a DSLR, but actually like you could take a photo and not know the difference.
It is such a big, like, I remember back in the days of film, I shot a book that required 300 photographs, and I shot them on film, and I had to take much more than that to get 300 usable ones, and I had to develop them, and it was incredibly time intensive, incredibly laborious. It cost me a small fortune, like thousands of dollars back when that actually meant something, just to make enough photos for this. And the transition to digital, I could do a digital book very quickly. And now to computational photography, I can do a good looking digital book really quickly. I don't have to take like the Canon and like all the glass, and I have them behind me, but I can just go out with this camera and shoot, and then I'm done, and it's transformative.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes me really excited.
And like portrait backgrounds on clips, like I can be in the middle of a star system. It's amazing.
Yes. Well, think about what that's going to be like for the rear camera in a couple of years. I mentioned this to Lory and Micah last week, but I'm like, backgrounds for video, bokeh backgrounds for video.
Well, that was Apple's whole thing with clips. They're like, you know, a lot of people love making these social videos, but they have the same background, or it's not a good background. You know, they're in their bedroom and they want to be somewhere else, and we're starting to be able to put them somewhere else. And you mentioned like the back camera, but when that starts getting like a LiDAR system on it, you know, with real computer vision, so it can ingest the environment, it's going to be silly.
Oh my God. Sorry, I'm just like going into it at this point, but I'm thinking about an iPad Pro that has a true depth, and you set it up in your living room. I mean, we're basically now I've put myself into a virtual world and I can see the virtual world. Yeah, I'm excited about this technology. This technology is cool.
Lory can go to Disney just by putting on her glasses.
Yes. As long as there's some wonderful smells that waft in while I'm
like
walking.
California Adventure, the oranges.
Yeah.
Dole Whip and churros.
Yeah, I'd buy so many churro packs.
So many.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we've gotten really excited about technology, well, no, you know what? Let's stay on the excitement for like just a little bit longer. Lory, I want to hear you talk about Animal Crossing and the new Animal Crossing game that came out, because you put a ton of hours into it, and your excitement over it makes me want to download it, but I want to hear.
So Animal Crossing Pocket Camp is Nintendo's version of, or it's their mobile sort of pocket version of Animal Crossing. It's a little different than the original game, but it has all of the same characters. So anyone who plays Animal Crossing will get to, see all their favorite characters again.
Could you primer me? Because I missed the whole Animal Crossing revolution. Could you just tell me what it is? Because I'm super excited, but I don't know it.
It's like a simulation game where you take care of animals. Basically, you go around and complete tasks for them, and you have this little world that you live in, where you visit animals and you take care of the house and you pick fruits and things like that. It's just a very simple simulation game that kind of takes place in real time. So, daytime, nighttime cycles, and even seasonally. And your animals, request tasks, and some things take a while. And it's just this very calm, relaxing game. I think all of my friends that play all kind of say the same thing about Animal Crossing. It makes you feel good. You sit down and you turn off while you're playing this game, and it's almost a Zen-like experience. It's not difficult. The music that plays is really soft, and all of the animals compliment you. You're doing a great job. You're the best person I've ever met, things like that. So you feel good about yourself while you're playing the game. And Animal Crossing Pocket Camp does a very similar thing, but in a sort of a smaller environment, and it kind of hyper focuses the content, and it's free to download and play. So they do have the mechanics are slightly different, and I can say a lot of people they get nervous when they see that free to play thing, that they're going to hit paywalls right away, and that makes them angry, and they don't even want to download it and play it, because then they'll feel lost when they hit that paywall. I played it for about a month and hit level 23 before my download borked, and I just had to start over, which is my fault because I didn't sign into my Nintendo account. I was planning on starting from scratch when it went live anyway, so it's not a big deal that it happened. I never once even came close to feeling like I needed to put my own money into the game, and I'm getting the sense that this is how this game is going to work forever. So what happens is you go in and you farm things, bugs, fish, fruits, and you give them to the animals, and in exchange they give you materials, and then you use those materials to build your campsite. And building things in your campsite makes campers want to come visit your site. So this is the cycle of the whole thing: is you farm stuff, you give them to animals, you get their materials, you craft items, they come to your campsite. You do it over and over again with currently 40 animals that are available in Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, but they'll probably increase that over time. So all of that, you never ever feel like you have to buy anything. You lay down your cash to get to the next level. Some things will take a while, like updating a tent might take 12 to 24 to 72 hours. But that's, there's lots of other things to do while that's happening. You're not stuck and able to keep playing. You do other things. You do more farming. You up the levels of other characters, other animals, things like that. So you're always doing something. Where I think the paying real money for stuff will come in is they will also be having events, and those events will almost definitely feature items that you can pay a premium to get. For example, at the very beginning of the game, the launch of the game, for the first 40 days, you have the ability to buy these 2 chairs, which cost a premium amount of in-game money. If you wanted to increase how much in-game money you have in order to buy these 2 items, you can do that. And then you could try to get those tickets yourself without having to pay real cash for it. But if you want to get them before the event runs out and you don't think you'll get enough of this in-game currency to do it, you can just add your money in and get them. And these 2 chairs are exclusive, and they welcome these 2 important characters to the original Animal Crossing game, and they won't be available without those chairs. So here's a way for them to encourage you to spend in-game money, but absolutely not require it at all. These are cosmetic additions to the game, so you don't need them to continue playing. They're not necessary. If you want them, you can try to generate the in-game currency, or you can just put down a couple dollars of your own cash to get it. And I think that's a great way to sort of balance free to play and a way for companies to make money, because you never feel discouraged at the gameplay, and you feel willing to put your own cash into it at that point where they say, well, here's a special gift to you. And you think, well, I've just played for 75 hours for free. I guess I can drop $2 on this game for them. And then, you're doing them a favor by giving them a couple dollars, and you still get something in return. So I think Animal Crossing Pocket Camp is definitely big right now. I hopefully it will kind of hold on a little bit longer than some of the other Nintendo mobile games that have come out. I think it might, just because it has such a comfortable gameplay, and it's not bite size. It takes your time. Like, you can play it in bursts and spend 15 or 20 minutes doing a bunch of little things, but you want to go back to the game an hour later or 2 hours later, because the cycle has recharged and you can go do a bunch more things again. And you're constantly wondering how your animals are doing and whether or not you can pick more fruit and things like that. So I think there'll be
you mentioned, Lory, that it's just fun, right? Like, it's just fun to watch and it's just fun to enjoy. And that's kind of the best about, mobile games, that you're just playing to play. I played Magikarp Jump for an extraordinarily long time because it was just cute. And it's like, yeah, you could put money into it if you want, or you could just have fun with a little adorable jumping fish. And now it sounds like you can have fun with a bunch of different animals.
Yes, exactly. And it's really relaxing. You don't have to focus your attention on it. It's portrait, so you can one-handed play the game comfortably while you're drinking your cup of coffee or working.
Do your real life pets come up at you and say, but what about me?
Oh yeah, my cat has already told me that if I don't stop playing Animal Crossing, he's leaving. So
it's like, I'm gonna cut you, then I'm gonna leave.
So yeah, I recommend Animal Crossing Pocket Camp to anybody who likes simulation games, but it's simple and kind of moves slowly in a relaxing pace. It's something you can check on when you get home from work and update and add things to. It's a lot of fun. I definitely think Nintendo did a really good job of this, and which I think Nintendo has done a fantastic job with mobile games. I think the one downfall so far that the company has had is that people are expecting console games on their mobile devices, and they feel disappointed when they get, for example, Super Mario Run, which is a fantastic mobile game, but people were expecting a console version of Super Mario. And so mobile gamers realize how wonderful Super Mario Run is, and console gamers are disappointed that it's not like Super Mario Brothers. I think Animal Crossing Pocket Camp kind of meshes that much better, because it feels like a bite-sized version of Animal Crossing. It doesn't feel like something completely different. So I think this is a great way for Nintendo to kind of like blend mobile with console. And I don't think anyone that loves Animal Crossing will be disappointed.
Just Lory's cat.
I never played the original Animal Crossing, but I'm excited / scared to play this because I feel like it's going to take a lot of my time.
It probably will.
Well, I guess we should talk about the not adorable parts of the news quickly, because I just don't want to spend too much time on it, because all I feel like I'm going to say is unbridled rage. So Uber, it turns out, what came out Tuesday night after closing hours, that they had lied about, well, first of all, that 45 million people got their names, addresses, and phone numbers stolen.
Million, including 57 rider accounts and 7 million plus driver accounts, I think.
Jesus, yeah. So
I think what what I understand is that unless they lie about it, which clearly they lie about things, so it's possible that they lied about this, no credit card information or social security information. So anyone listening to this right now who has an Uber account and are kind of freaked out about what happened, supposedly it was just phone numbers and addresses,
email addresses for riders, and driver's licenses for drivers in the US.
Yeah. So the twist about this is, of course, we've heard about hackers taking away data and hacking into big companies for the last year or so. But what makes this incredibly frustrating is that Uber essentially said, okay, we will pay you a ransom to delete this data, but also as hush money, so don't tell anybody about it.
It's two hackers. They tracked them down. It's not like the hacker said, will you give us money to, like, it wasn't an extortion scheme. They stole this stuff. Uber tracked them down and then offered them money if they would sign a non-disclosure agreement. And it's this was a year ago.
Yeah.
Not okay.
So let's just say fired.
Yeah, their chief security officer fired. One of their lawyers fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you feel about the way they have handled it now in this year later apology and we're going to do better? How Serenity, after reading that, did you feel better? Did you feel worse?
I mean, I appreciate that it was actually handled, because it could have just been swept under the rug entirely. But when it basically feels like, oh, I'm gonna stick my finger in this hole in a boat that already has like 5 different cannon blasts pushed into it. Like, I'm at a loss for words. Been at a loss for words tonight when this many chances. It's the only ride sharing service available in Montreal. Lyft isn't there yet, so if I'm taking not a taxi, I'm kind of limited in my options. But man, I don't think I can keep being an Uber customer at this point. Like, this is between the harassment and everything else. Like, I appreciate that the new CEO is trying to turn things around and make this a better company. But geez, at this point, it might just be better to rebrand and restart the company.
Yeah, they should put everything out there. They should find every possible thing that you've done wrong, put them all in a big pile, shove them out there, and then burn it, and then change the name and relaunch.
Yeah.
Renee, do you think that's what needs to be done, is that they need to basically open up their closets and let everybody see what's inside and then start from scratch?
If they can. I mean, it's.
But don't you think that would make people trust them less, even though
we were talking about it last night, like with Serenity, and it's a failed company in everything but consumer interest. Like riders you still love your drivers, because your relationship is not really with Uber, it's with the driver. And I feel bad for them, and I feel bad for this new CEO. But they creepily tracked people. They bullied. They illegally ran, and they've just did so much. Travis Kalachik, I don't know how to pronounce his name. They just did so much wrong under his regime that it's hard. Like, after a while, like, you keep hitting me and saying you're sorry, and I deleted the app the last time they had a big controversy. And like Trinity said, it's the only service in my city, so it hurts. But I try not to do business with companies that I don't respect.
Yeah. But then, so what they're trying to do now is regain your respect. So
yeah, they're gonna have to earn it. They're not like
the last guy hit you on the head and said, I'm sorry, and then hit you in the head and said, I'm sorry. The new guy is here and he's saying, I know we hit you on the head. We're sorry.
We hit you 3 times while you were sleeping that you didn't know about. Really sorry.
Yeah, this guy may have attempted to, take advantage of you, but we're at least telling you about it now. Yeah. I need to see them actually being a force for good in the community, not just the tech community, but the communities that they're serving. Like, I just opening up doors and showing the contents of your closets is great. Like, I'm glad, again, that people are getting fired that should be fired and possibly should be in jail. Let's be honest. But when it comes down to it, just doing the right thing is not cause for a celebratory pat on the back. Like, I want to see you going above and beyond and actually showing me why your company is worth paying attention to again. Because right now, it just isn't.
Yeah. No, totally agreed.
So yeah, so that's Uber. And then
now let's go even deeper into sadness.
Into I'm just gonna set my kitchen on fire. Yeah, so the head of the FTC, Ajit Pai, I don't know, I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name, basically said, hey, so we are going to attempt a full-scale overhaul / repeal of all net neutrality suggestions / rules. We think it should go in the garbage. And yes, he put that a little bit more diplomatically, but that is basically what's going to happen if the FCC votes to overturn these net neutrality rules. And I've been a huge proponent of net neutrality for the last few years. I had to do a bunch of research for a comic a couple years ago, and that really kind of opened my eyes.
Why does it matter to you, Serenity? Because people talk about it, but why does it actually matter?
Yeah. All right. In short, net neutrality is the concept that your telecom, so AT&T on my mobile device, say, AT&T cannot tell me, oh, if you want to visit Twitter, I'm going to charge you $5 more. Or, Facebook hasn't signed a licensing agreement with us, so you're just not going to get to have Facebook. These are extreme examples, but I feel like extreme examples are needed to make the point here. In this case, we can point in a weird way to the folks in support of the Second Amendment who are like, oh, well, if we take away the Second Amendment, they're going to take away all of the guns. The reason why the people are afraid on the Second Amendment side is the same reason why we are such hard proponents of net neutrality.
Is it fair to say, because like some people have a hard time grasping it, but is it fair to say like you get power going into your house and the power company doesn't get to charge you extra if you plug in your toaster as opposed to your coffee maker, as opposed to your dishwasher? And that's what they in essence want to do with this.
Well, it's not even different things draw different amounts of power, just like Netflix is going to draw more bandwidth when you watch it versus browsing Twitter. However, the correct analogy would be, oh, the power company is going to not just charge you for your service, but charge you an extra like service fee if you decide to hook up, say, a Tesla charger versus just like a washing machine.
If you have a Sony PlayStation versus an Xbox.
Yeah, if you have a Sony versus an Xbox, we're going to charge you an extra $5. Not because of the electricity you're generating, but just because it's a different box.
Got it.
There's a big gap here in people's understanding of it, in part because it sounds very nebulous, like net neutrality. But it's really, really important to realize that like this is a key foundation. Oh, well, lawmakers aren't, it's not going to be that bad. Like maybe this is going to be good to increase more competition. There are other ways for telecoms to be competitive without having to restrict your access to the internet. Like it's, even if you don't think that there's ever going to be a future in which we're charged $5 extra to use Twitter, like you have to understand that that's a possibility. And if it's a possibility, if it's even a remote possibility, if it's a possibility that if you want to read, left-leaning news sources, you're going to be charged $20 more than reading right-leaning news sources, or worse, that a telecom may just choose not to show you certain parts of the internet, like these are huge deals. These are huge concerns.
And the thing for me is that we haven't, some people say, oh, well, Google and Apple and Amazon and all these companies will save us because they don't want this world. Apple really hasn't said much. Google has waffled back and forth on net neutrality. Amazon and Facebook would probably like it because they're usually first to get 0 rated on a lot of services because they want to be that infrastructure. And Amazon, they are an infrastructure company. I don't think we can count on them to protect us. And worse, little shows like YouTube will be okay because Google will pay for it. But if we wanted to put the iMore show on any other, upstart video platform because we don't like YouTube's deals or they're demonetizing everybody, it would be very hard for any other service to get going because it'd be so expensive to just get into the game.
Yeah, there are a lot of potential bad circumstances here. So what can you do about it? Because here's the part where you can actually, not feel completely helpless. There are plenty of phone numbers that you can call. You can email the chairman of the FCC. You can email members of the FCC. You can email and call your members in Congress and ask them to petition the FCC. Basically, email, call, text, write people. It is pretty much the only thing we can do, including actually you can email, call, text, and write Tim Cook too, and ask him to take a stand for Apple, or your favorite, email Zuckerberg. Unfortunately, the power of public opinion is all we have at this point. Short of, a bunch of people sitting on the front steps of the FCC's door and just being like, hi.
I'm also increasing my donations to the companies that will likely get steamrolled. Not the companies, the organizations that we're going to have to sue after this gets rammed down everybody's throats, because I think there's going to be a ton of lawsuits over this.
Yeah, that is another thing. That's why the court battles are really important. Why the appointees to the court are very important. The internet may not seem to be as valuable of a resource as, say, clean water or the environment, but in many ways it's just as important, if not more important, because if you have access to the internet, whether or not you are lucky enough to pay money to have the internet delivered to your home, or whether you have a free library card and go to the library and access the internet from there, taking away that utility or making that utility more expensive. Like, I think about libraries, right? Are governments going to give libraries the funding necessary to pay for a fully open internet, right? Most likely your local library will just be stuck on the basic internet tier, which you might not, there are a lot of facets to this. I encourage people to read more about it. I encourage you to call your lawmakers, but don't be complacent, because this is scary. This is legitimately scary.
If anybody isn't sure about the detriment that getting rid of net neutrality could cause, I recommend just doing a quick Google search, which is something that you might end up having to pay extra for someday. And search Portugal net neutrality, because they recently did away with net neutrality, and it's evidence right now. They're going through exactly what we're afraid is going to happen. Things like packaging out the internet so that if you, for example, if you use WhatsApp or other messaging apps, you pay a certain extra fee for that. Or if you use Netflix and Hulu, you pay another extra fee for that. And ISPs are throttling websites so that people don't have as easy access to them, politically based ones. It's literally already happening in Portugal. And if you don't think that that's going to happen here, then, you're dreaming. So
you're a moron who's dooming the rest of us, including your children and generations to come, to a worse existence.
Exactly. And it's one of those things of, well, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if it'll be good or bad. Well, it's happening in another country and it's bad. And if you want to see evidence of the results of getting rid of net neutrality, do that quick Google search, read a couple of articles.
And if you're demented enough to think the free market will fix this and that all we need is a free market, please make sure that you personally ensure that I have at least 4 ISPs to choose from in every neighborhood that I might ever want to choose to live in.
Mm-hmm. And that those things are affordable to all members of society, and not just people who make $100,000 a year or more.
Yep. So net neutrality. Just to reiterate, call your congressman, email your leaders, find the CEOs' email addresses and beg them to come out against this. The vote, I believe, takes place on December 14th. So you still have time to push this, just get out there and get the word out and tell people about it and tell people you don't want it. That's the only thing that worked 6 months ago when they were going to try to overhaul it then too. It worked then. It can work again, but we all have to get together and make it work. We all have to make our voice heard that we don't want to get rid of net neutrality.
I don't mean to be insulting or rude to people who have those opinions. It's just like, it's not blue versus red or this side versus that side or this coast versus that coast. It's literally people who want to gouge every ounce of money, profit. I don't begrudge anyone a good profit. I buy Apple stuff, so like I have no problem with people making profit. But this is the worst form of financial tyranny, and they have all sorts of arguments that sound legitimate on the surface and are absolutely not when you look at it. And it's not stuff that can easily be repaired. The damage that we do now is going to last for decades, and we're honestly, most of us, myself included, are too damn stupid to realize it. So we've got to overprotect ourselves.
Yeah. So in conclusion, the vote is my birthday. So please don't make my birthday miserable. Make sure that they don't vote to stop net neutrality. And thank you guys for watching, because we're out of time on this iMore show.
We're all sad now.
I know.
Jazz hands. Happiness jazz hands.
But the good news is that for folks in the US, after you've started, called your congressman and made your voice heard, you're going to eat a great meal. So enjoy that. Be thankful for your family. Be thankful for the free and open internet. And we hope that you're thankful for this show, because we really enjoy bringing it to you, even if sometimes we have to bring you sad and hard truths.
Bring you down, yes.
Yeah. Lory Gil, what is the best place to reach you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Appaholic. That's APPAHOLIK. And you can find me at Lory Gil at most of the other social things. And for the next few days, I will be giving everybody some deep insider knowledge on Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. So check out iMore.com to see what I've got going on there.
And Rene Ritchie.
You can find me at Rene Ritchie on all the things. And because I am the biggest moron of all, I'm doing a daily podcast now called Vector. And you can find it in my Twitter feed, on iTunes, on Pocket Casts, Overcast, all the casting things.
All of the casts.
All the casts have been potted.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Settern, SETTERN, as well as on relay.fm with the show Query, where we answer simple answers to complex tech questions. For iMore, I'm Serenity Caldwell, and thank you guys for watching/listening. We'll be back post-Thanksgiving with food in our bellies and hopefully less anger in our hearts. Have a good one, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Cornbread stuffing.